Hey guys, today we're gonna do a coaching session with Crimpus, a Protoss player who is right now low diamond on the European server, and we're gonna focus mostly on replay analysis. Let's get going. Alright, so you're the Protoss player at the top left. So tell me about this replay, like what did you lose to, like what was going on a little bit? What do you struggle against exactly?
I don't remember exactly, but I think it was probably lurkers.
Okay, lurkers. All right, we're gonna look into it a little bit. So I'm just gonna check your build order at the very beginning. You told me you were low diamond, right? So we're gonna check your build order in the early game, see if everything is clean. Because of course, comes down to that a little bit. Sometimes too, you need to have like a good worker production, a build order that makes sense, and so on. So far so good. 12 pylon, 14 gate. Okay, so now you have your probe on the other side of the map. That's gonna confirm whether there's hatchery, so you should, yeah, contribute your nexus. Okay, perfect for now, pretty good. Pretty darn good. So no pool, finally a pool, so you know you're pretty safe. You should be able to just go about your day. And nexus should go down at 19. Okay, you're cutting a little bit. Yeah, I think 19 Nexus is a bit better nowadays.
Okay.
So I would suggest 19 Nexus and 19 Core. What you can do is 19 Nexus, 19 Core, then Probe, then 20 Pylon, 21 Gas, and I will line up perfectly. So yeah, you can leave your probe like this in patrol, so you can see if some Zerglings are actually leaving the Zerg base. Okay, so let's see if you chrono boost your adept or not. You don't, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, for everybody watching, what you can do is just leave the probe in patrol in this area, so that you know how many Zerglings are actually leaving this base. And then if no Zerglings come, or just maybe a pair or two, you can just skip the chrono boost on the adept and just chrono boost your economy instead to get faster into what you're trying to go for. So I would love to have a chrono boost on both nexus at this point. Like when your natural finishes, you really want to chrono boost both nexus as fast as possible. Like the second the nexus finishes, get it on. Okay, finally you're doing it, so that's good. So you're deciding to finish the wall before your before you queue your air unit, so that's a bit of a, yeah. I know some people are a bit paranoid and want to finish the wall, but I would always prioritize getting the oracle. And if you're scared because you don't have the information, you can just leave your worker and around aggressively to make sure you're not getting a link flooded, so that you actually have the information. You don't have to get a quick wall like this, so you can actually prioritize your oracle instead. But it's probably okay, not the end of the world, that's for sure. So what build are you going for? What are you trying to do? What's the game plan? Tell me.
Archon drop.
Okay, Archon drop. Which, sadly took a little bit of a hit in this patch, sadly, because of the price you need to pay to actually get the warp gates. We could maybe, okay, nice. I like what you're doing here. You're zapping a couple workers. The spore is out of position, so that's a good move you're doing here. That's pretty nice. Not bad at all. Okay, don't want to forget the last gate. Yeah, be careful about that. Where's the oracle? Okay. So yeah, what's nice is to have like some kind of cycle. Like what you can do is just get double gate and then play with the oracle. Like do it in this order so you don't forget your extra gate. I think it should be on time anyway, so not the end of the world, but still a way to do things. 44 probes. We should get our prism on the... Well, you have it already, perfect. So be careful about spending your recall on the oracle, because now you don't have a recall anymore for this Archon drop. Which means that if you get all in, then you need units in emergency in the form of Archons and a Prism. Yeah, you would not be able to actually get back home, or you would need to literally fly for a while. Okay, we're morphing this. Okay, what's really important with Archon drop is actually the follow-up. So what you do next. Now we're going for a Nexus. I really like the follow-up of getting an Observer, so you can clear some creep with the Archon drop. I mean, your opponent is literally not making... It hasn't made a single Crypt Humor, so I guess it's done the job for you. Thank you very much. And you need to get some Immortals, in my opinion. I think they're very good, especially against Roaches. Okay, you're making Workers. Yeah, you definitely need to make Immortals. They are very strong. Like, my usual follow-up to this is 3 to 4 Immortals, +1 attack, 3-4 sentries, and 8 gates, and try to either pressure the 4th base or end the game if possible. It's basically the idea. So you see,
Yeah,
now
I usually get a...
Sorry, go ahead.
I usually get Immortals, but I forget the sentries almost always.
Well, you can do it in waves of some sort. Like, for example, you morph your High Templars, and then you rapidly use your hotkeys. This is why hotkeying stuff is so important, because if you need to get back home and hotkey stuff is gonna be a mess, but you just have to press your buttons like Immortal, like Robo Immortal, Probe, and then you harass with your Archon drop a little bit. Then you can hide your Immortal drop, your Archon drop in a corner, and just go second Immortal, gateway, charge +1, some sentries, then play again with the Immortal, the Archon drop. There you go, man. I really want to call that an Immortal drop. No, it's an Archon drop. And do it this way, because what happens sometimes, people will over control their Archon drop, and then they have not built anything at home. Actually, building stuff with your Orobo and getting your gateway is actually way more important at getting damage done with the Archon drop, unless you literally deal game-ending damage. So do it in wave, right? A bit of harassment, macro. A bit of harassment, macro. Don't sacrifice your build integrity to just get one more drone or one more roach. It's definitely not worth the sacrifice. Like, for example, at this point, you could easily have 4 Immortals. Maybe even 5 at this point, to be fair. And because of that, well, not only you should be the one on the map putting pressure, but you're actually defending. And this guy took the gold base. It's outmining you. Well, he's outmining you even more now at this point. And now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I just lost my old mineral life. Screw it, I'm just gonna go across the map. But you don't actually know what your opponent's army is. I'm sure your gateways, yeah, finally warping comes in. So when you see this happen, the first thing you should do is bring your Oracle back. I don't know where it is. Okay, your Oracle is here. And fire on the Ravagers. Like, you just click your Oracle and shift command on the Ravagers so you can kill them rapidly. That should be your absolute priority. And warping units consistently, pretty important also. I think force fields have been, well, it's not I think, it's force fields have literally been buffed. You should utilize them. As you said, you sometimes forget to warp in sentries. I think, well, if you do it my way, you know, with cycles like this, maybe you will remember a bit better. But and then you can try to hit a nice timing attack with 3-4 Immortals, +1 attack, a bunch of sentries, and whatever you have left, like some Archons, some Zealots. And that would be a good game plan to actually go into the game. And then later on, you can go into Storm. You could use your sentries and for Hallucinated Phoenix, or use, of course, your Oracle for scouting. And then look for a Spire, for example. And in which case, you can go for Phoenixes or maybe Blink. And if they go for Hydra Den into Lurkers or Banelings, you can just get Storm. And just adjust to your opponent this way. But in this game, for example, if I look at the income tab, you're getting massively outmined by your opponent. That's because they go the gold base. And you've just been staying home the whole time. Whereas if you just follow the game plan I showed you, I wrote earlier like this. You want to screenshot that, for example. Well, then you have a clear idea of what you want to achieve. And this gold base would have been knocked out. And then the game is completely different because your opponent is not mining nearly as much. And you see, it doesn't even have that scary of an army despite mining way more. I mean, it's just a tier 1.5 army basically with just the Roach Ravager and Banes. So Storm against this would actually be very, very powerful. Okay, you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to do this kind of things. You always want to put your War Prism in a safe spot. Like for example, upon seeing this, probably should have run away. Honestly, I know we're off prep, but first thing you can do is use your Oracle to snipe the Ravagers, and always put your War Prism in a safe zone so it doesn't have it. Because you're doing a good job kiting right now. You're doing a very good job kiting the roaches. You're getting a lot of roaches killed. But sadly, you lost your reinforcements. All your units have died. It's not so much this fight. Also comes down to what happened before. Also, in this matchup, as much as against Terran, I really like to be very mineral heavy. Against Zerg, you need to be gas heavy. All the good units, I mean, you're literally building them, like Archons, Immortals, and Storm. All the strong units against Zerg are gas units. So you need to focus on gas as much as possible. Even when your next base finishes, you want to take the gases as fast as possible. So you can actually get some Stormers, Archons, Immortals. And if you have leftover money, then you can make some Zealots and Cannons. But it's only when you're pretty much out of gas.
Okay.
And now you should die probably to the next move out, right? Because this game is pretty much over. You don't really have a respawn to Lurkers. Okay, I like what the Zerg is doing, sending a multi-prong like this. Very important not to get baited, and you do get baited a little bit, I have to say, but I don't think it would have mattered very much. This army is actually very scary. Also, it's 2-2. 2-2 Lurkers. Is there a hive? No, there is no. They don't have the extra upgrades, but still. So you see, if I have criticism for this game, I would say try to have a clear game plan so you know what you want to achieve. So you can get on the map with your... after the Archon drop, some follow-up with Archon Immortal Sentries. Have as a target to snipe the 4th. It could be this one, could be that one, depending on how the Zerg plays. And then you... After that, you then scout with your sentries and Oracle, and then you go either into Storm, or maybe Air, or just another timing attack, and so on. And then you will have a better shot. Because this game, you were very passive, you let the Zerg get away with the gold base while attacking you at the same time, and yeah, it's rarely a good thing that happens. So we're gonna watch the next replay.
Should I check the gold base periodically on that map?
Yeah, for sure, you can absolutely
Because
do that.
I didn't even know he had that.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea to check it frequently. I mean, not frequently, but you know, every 2 minutes, something like that. Because you've got other things to do, and APM is very valuable. Of course, we don't have infinite actions we can do. So you can definitely check the gold every now and then. But if you know you're going to attack with that strategy, well, you need to find the 4th anyway. That's the way I do it. I know I'm going to attack, so I just check with my Oracle where the 4th base is, and then just attack there. Unless it's a bad angle, because you want to have a decent angle also, so you have a good concave. But if there's a choke, force fields are going to be a little bit better, so it's always a bit of a trade-off. Okay, so I like your little wall.
Wait, I'm not in the replay.
Oh shit, I'm gonna... hold on. I started without you in a bit of a rush. I'm gonna share my screen on Discord so you should see it.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, core 19. So one thing I would recommend with this little probie that's going back home is to just check whether your opponent's getting the factory in their base. Because sometimes they will just proxy over here, and well, a good way to know about that is to actually confirm the factory has been made in their base with your probe. So that's a very good information to take. Although this guy is playing a very interesting build, to say the least, that in my opinion doesn't make any sense. But we don't really care about that, we care more about you in this case. Hold on. So careful not to overmine too much gas because you're very tight in terms of minerals here. And you can see you can barely afford a pylon. Because you would like your pylon to be done at the same time as the core, so you could queue a probe in a unit, but now you're still cutting workers because you have no gas. So you're going sentry first, which I can understand, but you know, do you really need a sentry that fast? I don't think so. You know what you could have done is mine a bit less gas and more minerals, and with the extra minerals you could get a faster pylon, so you can keep queuing probes and maybe stalker first, and then go sentry as a second unit, and then you would be just fine, have a relatively early scout anyway. Okay, good pullback on the sentry. We'll lose a little bit of a probe and 2 probes, and it's a bit expensive that early in the game. So as you can see, I've got the production tab open. You're finally resuming the probe production, but you see, you lost 2 probes to the Marines, you cut a probe here, you cut another probe in the early game because of the little supply block, and you're at 22 probes when you could be at 25, 26. So see little adjustments you can do. So mine may be a bit less gas, so you can get the quicker pylons because you've got more minerals, and you go stalker first into sentry, and you will still have a fast scout, and you will have a bit more workers, because having the information is one thing, but you know, if you're broke, well, you have the information but you still die, so that's not ideal. So what did you see? You saw a double factory on one base. You're gonna scout again, which I really like. You're opening charge, which makes complete sense against this. What you could do is just verify whether it's actually double time, because you could be doing something else. So all your chrono boost definitely should go on charge right now to get your upgrade as fast as possible. You're cutting workers, which makes sense. You're playing against the one base all-in. We could use the energy recharge on the sentry and maybe post ourselves in here, up the ramp, because right now the Terran player is literally crossing the map disrespectfully, I would say. Doesn't really give a damn. Whereas if you had your stalkers maybe here, you would force him to siege. Maybe one time you could double force field if you recharge this sentry. You would have double force field at this point, and buy another 15 seconds for yourself. I like that you're decisive, though. That is very good. You're decisive. You're not hesitating, and that's a very, very good thing you're doing, and it's paying off in a big time. You're actually jumping on this army and destroying it. You're not mining very much on the other hand at this point, but your opponent is on one base with not very much any tech, so that's probably just fine. So what do we do next? Chrono boosting some probes. Okay, so you should, yeah, you should still be ahead economically. I mean, this guy kept on making STVs on single base. So what's going through your head at this point? Like, do you know what position you're in?
I mean, I'm assuming he's probably not going to do the same thing again. So, like, I'm just going to, like, start making zealots because charge is done. And then I'll just attack with a war prism later. And now I'm scared because I saw this.
So yeah, don't put yourself in such a defensive stance, right? You've got 3 sentries, go forward, yeah, exactly. Go forward like you're doing right now. Just localize the army so you don't get surprised. But yeah, finally getting some zealots, which are gonna be quite nice. You should take your time as much as possible, I think. Because you don't really, yeah, you don't really have zealots now, dude. Because, okay, some tanks were not sieged, but some actually were, so you need to buy some time. Nah, that's not it. Just take your time, keep producing zealots, because this army is not that big, right? 2 rounds of zealots, you probably crush it. You're getting too early, like, just take your time, get some more zealots. Because right now, you need to understand that the Terran player is not really threatening anything. There's not a single tank shooting your Nexus or your probe, so you don't need to go. Right? There's no rush. You could even expand towards the triangle base if you wanted to. Like, there's no rush. If the Terran player was actually killing your probes and destroying the Nexus, then fine, okay, go for it. But here, just the tanks are out of position, doing nothing. Just chill. Get some more zealots, and once you feel comfortable, just overwhelm him. I think it works out still somewhat okay. because, well, I mean, making mass tanks like this is not very efficient. Okay, so your opponent is actually anticipating a counter attack, which is smart. Like, he's making a little wall like this, which is exactly what he needs to do, because realistically you could cross the map, and I would say you should have crossed the map. Like, after crushing this army like this, and when you know your opponent is only making tanks because you saw 2 factories and no starport, you know there's no threat of a Banshee, of a Liberator, so don't hesitate. Grab your units, cross the map. Worst case scenario, you can always recall, you can always run back home. Zealots are pretty fast. Because here you maybe had an opportunity before the wall was up. Now it's definitely too late. So, and this guy's literally making double CC in his wall. So if you want to have a future in this game, you definitely need to expand at this point. Because you're spamming Zealots non-stop. But we're not going to win the game with pure Zealots, especially on 2 bases. So now we really need an extra base, that's for sure. So for example, I would cut Zealots, because if you keep on making Zealots, you're kind of putting yourself in an all-in position. If he attacks, sure, it would be the right call, but your opponent is definitely not attacking, and even if it did attack, I mean, you have more than enough units. So now you need to be a bit more on the active side and not let your opponent do whatever he wants. Like this guy, your opponent on half the army supply you have is literally double expanding, and you're not doing anything about it. When you know, because you have the information, that these starports are actually very late, right? So there's no air units. So yeah, okay, you're going on the map, which I really like. This is definitely what you need to do. When your opponent also takes bases like this, and even if they don't, you should definitely chrono boost your nexus very aggressively. A good reference point is to have maybe 3 workers-ish extra per base they have. Well, this only applies to mid-game, of course, but for example, now you're about to be on 3 bases. So 3 times 3 is like 9, maybe 10, let's say 10. You want to have at least 10 more workers than your opponent. So you should be, to be comfortable, you should be at 57, but you're at 42, which means you should be up 10 workers, you're down 5 workers, right? Because you're over making units, maybe because you're a bit scared, but at least you're making something out of your units, which I like. And if you jump on the tanks, you should kill them both. Kill the bunker. I mean, you should end the game, no? He literally has nothing. I mean, he's making Banshees.
I think maybe if I just stuck with the bunker, I could have killed it, but now he's just hold positioning on it and I can't kill. Yeah,
one trick.
I'm just losing Zealots for nothing.
Yeah, one trick you can do is just shift click. You just A move and shift all the SCVs and kill them one by one. That was a little bit expensive. If you notice it's actually not working out, you don't have to keep committing. You could pull back and maybe try your luck in the other base. Well, now there's a PF, so you should definitely pull away. What did you scout? Oh, so, okay, you saw both starports. Did you actually pay attention to them?
Yeah, I got 2. I got cannons in my base.
Okay. So I would prefer also you get blink. That would be nice. Maybe a robo. Okay, you get your robo. Definitely want to have blink. +1. I like the cannons. They're gonna help against the Banshees, definitely. And now you're actually in a fine economical position. Now you're up 14 workers, which is what you want to aim for actually in this matchup, at least in this kind of position. He's gonna take the gold, but keep in mind that every time your opponent makes a PF instead of an orbital, you should be extremely thankful, because of course 1 PF instead of an orbital is -1 mule, and mules are what makes the Terran economy grow rapidly. So PF should not be something that should scare you. You should be actually very thankful for that, because it means your opponent has less income. So good for you. But just don't attack into it, of course. So what I would also say, so definitely you need blink, because it's not one cannon that's gonna stop a higher amount of Banshees. But also what you can do, maybe what you should do even, is get a Stargate, because Phoenixes and 1 Oracle to relevate can kill an infinite amount of Banshees. And if your opponent does decide to tech into something else, for example, battle cruisers, right? Well, then you could have the tech available already to go into Tempest and Mothership. Of course, Tempest deal bonus damage against BCs and shoot from long range, and Mothership is also very useful, because the goal of the Mothership against BCs is that if your BC opponent jumps on you, you can leave the mothership somewhere else so that you can recall your army your opponent is jumping onto. And then the blink is on cooldown. And then you can just chase the BCs. There's nothing you can do because his blink is on cooldown, so you can actually kill his BCs for free. So recall is actually an amazing counter to BCs. And time warp also is quite useful against BCs. But that's not the case here, so your opponent's just making benches. Yeah, okay. Really need to take that base for sure. And I think we definitely need some Stargate units. I would love to see some Phoenixes here, that would be very useful. Because then the Terran opponent will just toy with you at this point. You're going to be his doormat, he's just going to attack left and right. So now you're actually pulling the trigger, you're going to go for it. The issue is he has a PF and you know it, so it makes things easier for him to defend. Also, that could have been a good idea to just make sure it doesn't have other bases, because in this case he literally has a gold base that's very exposed. You just aim move it, it's gone. You can aim move this base, also it's gone. So you need to make sure your opponent doesn't have other bases before you go. Like pick the right location. Maybe you can demolish the natural anyway. Do you have an observer with this? We don't have an observer. That's actually a bit of a problem because Banshees are gonna become invisible. That's a mistake. You really need an observer. When you know Banshees are on the map, even if you do decide to attack, make sure you've got an observer. Because here you would like, the few Stalkers and Archons you've got are more than enough to demolish the Banshees. But of course you need detection for that. And there's a chance you could have won the game on the other side of the map, to be perfectly fair, even if you lost your workers at home. But without detection, this is not happening. Yeah. Also, DTs without blink on the PF, that's not a thing. Just more of them into Archons and put them into a fight. I think you would have won the game. If you did that, I'm just gonna go back just a little bit, but... yeah, right now if you actually have an observer, and you morph DTs and morph them into Archons, you win the game. Like, you literally win the game. It doesn't have enough here. It's 3 Banshees, a tank, and a Thor. An Observer and a couple Archons, game over, you win the game. So you were actually very close to winning the game. Like, crossing the map was actually the right decision. Just need an Observer and maybe faster warp-ins like this, and 2 Archons. And that would have been it, so, okay. And what you can do is also maybe, if you have a sentry, check the hidden bases like this. It's funny because in both replays you lost to the gold, actually, funnily enough. Okay, we have a little bit of a PvP now, so we have all 3 matchups covered.
I'm the red one.
You're the red one. Okay, I was gonna ask. Yeah. Cold call. Alright. So what is your general game plan against PvP? How do you like to play? Tell me.
2-gate, expand, and then Adept, Immortal all in.
Okay. Yeah, I made a video a long time ago about a Glaive Immortal all in. Very popular and very powerful. Not as good on Dispatch, sadly, because now you actually need to morph 7 gateways into warp gates. Only 2 gases, which is very expensive. You're lacking a bit of gas nowadays. So I think this build sadly took a big hit, but certainly it's still playable, especially in Diamond is perfectly fine in my opinion. Okay, so we got the second chrono boost on time, we're doing a good job. Rallying at 19 to get the core. Only playing single... Oh, you actually get a second gate. Okay, well if you do it like this, you definitely need the second gate before the core. This gateway needs to be finished before the core is done. So, well, the idea is that when the core finishes, you need to queue 2 units at once, right? So this gate is way too late. So you should go, like, the way you do it is you go gate, gas, gate, cyber, in this order. Cyber, 19 supply. And chrono boost, well, you already did that, so I'm not gonna write it, but chrono boost whenever you've got 50 energy. So you have 2 chrono boost on your gate. Okay, so what did you see on the opposite side of the map? Okay, you confirm the second pylon, so unlike, like, right now the information you have is second pylon on the opposite side, plus a second probe that's still in your base. So it's extremely unlikely that your opponent is going to proxy, and even if he does, it's going to be a weaker one because, well, everything will be delayed. Okay, I like your pylon placement. It's actually very good. One pylon here for shield batteries if you need to. One pylon here for battery in the middle line and battery to defend at the front if you need to. So this is very good. What else do we have? Well, not so much going on. So right now you don't really know what's being made. So this is one.
If I don't see anything,
yeah, go ahead.
If I don't see anything attacking that pylon, I just assume it's adepts and get ready to put a battery in my wall.
Yeah, it's a very good
And if something
assumption.
does attack it, I cancel it. Unless it's adepts, then I leave it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's a very good assumption. Yeah, when nothing shoots your pylon, especially when it's finished, very good chance it's adept. So you need it's a bit sad because you make the right guess, right? But you don't have the decision that follows it, which is to actually put the worker in the gap.
I think I just forgot it this time.
Okay. So also what I would recommend is put your probe on the outside and put the battery so that you can actually get your nexus, because now you actually need to cancel your battery to get a probe down. Because funnily enough, you blocked his nexus, but his nexus is actually way ahead of yours. Way ahead of yours. He's actually up 2 probes. His nexus, as poorly positioned as it is, it's still way ahead of yours. So I would strongly recommend you put the probe on the outside, just get the battery, and then you can maybe get your nexus a bit faster. This way. Also, don't hesitate to chase the adepts, because now you have a battery, and the battery lasts for a little while, like 30 seconds. So by this point, you can actually chase the adepts and maybe catch one, because otherwise you will just keep shading till the end of time, and you will have to cancel the battery, which costs you 25 minerals every single time. Alright, you will need to be a bit more generous on the probe production, right? You can see you're already down 4 workers. You both lost 1. So you're down 5 workers for no reason, basically. It's 6 workers. The only reason you're down in workers is because you're not producing them. That's the main reason. And the second one is because his nexus was ahead of yours. But you see, your nexus is full of energy and your supply blocked. So what you need to understand is you need to really chrono boost really hard the economy, but finally you're doing it. But you see, you're down 10 workers. It's game over already. You cannot win from such a position. Like your opponent right now, look, you're getting outmined big time. He's mining not exactly twice the amount you're mining, but close to it. So no matter what you do, no matter what decision you take, it doesn't really matter, because he's just so rich compared to you. So even if you make the perfect decisions, it's not gonna help. So what you really need is to make probes aggressively, chrono boost them, make sure your nexus is fast, and don't hesitate to chase the adepts if you have a probe in the wall to make a battery, because otherwise it's just gonna shade again and bother you, and it's gonna delay your supply block a little bit again. See, in the end, your glaive is almost finished and you're not even on your way to attack, because this is too early compared to the rest. Let me check again. Also, I would say you don't need to make an extra stalker. Like, you know it's adepts, and adepts, they don't really deal much damage to your units, so just cancel the stalker, just expand as fast as possible. The quicker you expand, the stronger your build is going to be, because you'll have more money coming in, so you'll be able to just get everything faster. You're playing actually very cautious, like sending hallucinated phoenixes on both corners. Maybe you're expecting perhaps a dark shrine, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you're expecting this.
Something. Just anything on the map.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the best approach is literally to just scout his main base and see what he has and compare with what you have. Because in PvP, well, usually in the early game, especially when both players play with sentries, roughly speaking, you will have the same amount of stuff, more or less. So if you see a big difference in what you have and what they have, and you feel like something is missing, maybe you can scout a bit more aggressively. But anyway, you open with a robo, so you can still get an observer. A worst case scenario, should be okay. So now we're gonna get some glaive adepts. Yeah, this is gonna hit pretty late. Like your opponents literally are already gonna have archons. It's actually critical to hit pretty fast with this opener. So that force fields are actually useful, and if you can hit before archons, that's ideal, because then once they have archons not only break force fields, they're gonna be able to rapidly kill your units. Also, he has +1 attack, which helps because adepts are a biological unit, and archons deal extra damage against them. Okay. And one thing also, you always want to have this guy in range so you can pick up your units. Because here you're lost in Immortal, for example, for free. Ooh, I don't like shading lane like this.
I thought the fight was lost, so I decided to just...
Yeah, I understand the decision making. So you should definitely sprint towards the mirror line. You need to threaten several locations. Now, if you attack this Nexus, if I'm the blue player, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Like, I lose a Nexus, I don't care, because I have better tech and more upgrades. What you should do instead is walk towards the main, and then you would have seen the recall, and then you shade towards the third, and all his units would have been out of position. It's very important to shade and walk in the opposite direction, so you can really threaten two opposite sides to make it as hard as possible for the blue player. Here, for example, you had the opportunity to ravage his mirror line, like at this exact moment here. So you shade like this. So your adepts should definitely walk in here, walk towards the main, so try and kill his workers, and shade at the third, and then make your call. The moment he decides to recall, like you see now, you would see the recall, let the shades finish and ravage the mirror line. Should have gone for it here, but you didn't have the information that the recall actually was used. And now it's gonna be a painful game where you try to come back, but it's 0-0 against +2, and he's got better tech. So unless the blue player massively messes up, he should be able to easily win. A good mechanic to come back is to use a Warp Prism with 2 adepts inside and try to kill some probes. You can hide some adepts on this side, hide some adepts on that side, shade some in, like shade 2 adepts here, shade 2 adepts there, and kill as many workers as possible while you just remake your army and just try to pray for the best, basically. But okay, blue player should definitely use Guardian. He has no energy for that, actually. Okay, the blue player took a horrible fight. I will explain why. So your Immortal is well positioned at the back, is really dealing a lot of damage. What he should have done instead is just cut this army in half, like the blue guy, and kill the adepts at the front and pull back, and then just keep making probes and take the easy win. Now your Immortal has free fire over the... Okay, good pullback, good, very good micro here. Your army control is saving you this game. This is what's giving you a chance. Also, we had no blink, which doesn't help. Okay, you're gonna go for round 2, which is the only thing you can do realistically. Also, make sure maybe you have a proxy pylon. Nowadays, actually very useful because of quick warping. You could also use the energy recharge on one of your sentries. No, maybe you get an extra guardian shield that doesn't hurt, especially when your opponent literally has +2 attack. I mean, your opponent is 2-1, so it's going to be a bit rough.
Should be attacking from this angle.
Yeah, so yeah, you want to have the widest, like for example, now this is the perfect angle for the blue guy because your adepts are all clumped up together and all your immortals, which is the highest firepower unit you have, cannot fire. Whereas all of his units almost can fire because they have long range and the concave. You should never, 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 never attack in this area.
Yep.
And in the end, how much did it cost? You were down 6 supply. And after that, you're down 13. So that was pretty bad in the end. Try to go for maybe an open area. Maybe this area could be better because then with your adepts, you have the choice to either shade in like this. Because if you're over here, maybe you can shade some adepts here or in the main or at the third. And even if you shade a single adept, well, it still needs to be taken care of. And adepts with glaive kill workers very rapidly. But here you only threaten a single location. I mean, you can still shade away, I suppose, but... yeah, warpism should always be in the area so you can actually pick up the immortals if they get targeted. You also need to use Guardian Shield. There we go, very well done. And you want to warp in as fast as possible, which you do. Okay, pretty well done. I mean, overall, I think your unit control is quite nice. But you're just working with not enough compared to your opponent. I mean, you only have adepts at this point and your opponent is 2-1. About to be 3-1 in 10 seconds. So once again, okay, he's fully walled in, which is quite smart. Okay, you're attacking. The adepts deal no damage with the attack. The armor upgrade is actually insane. I mean, this game is pretty much over now. Too many upgrades from your opponent. You don't really have firepower in the form. I mean, it's literally 3-1. But see, this is a game where it's close all game long, and you're making something out of a game where you should not have won. And in the end, it doesn't really come down to taking bite fights or so on. It comes down to you being way too delayed in the early game. Nexus is too late, you're not making workers. If you do the same attack, the same thing, but just in the game you're a bit more aggressive in the pro production and the chrono boosting, you get your Nexus maybe easily get it 20 seconds faster. Well, then suddenly your push is much stronger and you probably would have won that game because everything would have arrived quicker and your opponent would not have been as prepared as he was. This is why I always scream at people, get your build straight, make probes and chrono boost them because it really has a huge impact and it probably would have won you the game. Because your unit control is quite nice. Like you have good pullbacks on your units, the way you're shading, using force field and so on, it's not bad at all. So keep doing that, but just make sure your early game is a bit cleaner, and that should be good enough to get you a couple or hundreds MMR more, in my opinion.